Hey guys, John Bergsma live at the bait shop in Waterford, Michigan. First report of the year. We're starting open water season on the Detroit River. It's going to be an awesome season. Stay tuned. I'm going to talk a little bit about presentations today, especially for guys who only fish this river for maybe a month of the year and then move on to other things. We're going to talk about colors. We're going to talk about what's happening right now on the river. Captain Eric Long and Michael Downey have given me an updated report just yesterday. So it's going to be an awesome report of colors that are working, areas of the river that's working, and also tactics. Then a little later in this report, after we talk about all the great stuff here that the bait shop has to keep you guys stocked up for the year, we're going to jump down to Monroe. Captain Nick Dode from Real Live Action Sport Fishing has got a great Monroe trolling report for you for those of you who want to troll. So whether it's rivers or whether it's Lake Erie, we've got you covered here at Fisherman's Digest. So hey, let's jump right into the tactics part of this report. So Captain Eric Long has his boat up by Simbad's at the mouth of where St. Clair dumps into the north part of the Detroit River. He tells me that that northern part of the river has got good fish in it, but not spawning yet. Michael Downey, and we'll mention him a little bit later, same type of situation. We've got 36 to 37 degree water temperature, and depending on the wind that happens, remember guys, those of you who aren't real familiar with the Detroit River, it's whatever happens on Lake St. Clair that determines the visibility in the Detroit River. So when you got big windy days, you don't want to be fishing the day after big windy days on St. Clair, because all it does is mud up the Detroit River. So choose your days based on what the weather has been for a day or two or three before you're going to go fishing. Now obviously you can't always avoid dirt, and you're always going to have stain in the Detroit River unless you have dead flat conditions for days. Let's talk about some of the new presentations. Eric tells me he's catching fish on either a jig and just a minnow with a free-flying stinger. So when I say that, so you're gonna grab, let's just grab my favorite color here, which is Royal D. This is a Wyandotte color, available right here at the bait shop. And then a bait shop free-flying stinger hook that you just cinch right onto your hook. Now, Eric has been using larger size minnows with no plastic this time of the year. He says until the water temp gets to be about 40 degrees, those big minnows seem to catch fish better all by themselves. At the 40 degree mark, that's when you're going to start integrating plastics into the game. Although he took out a female companion, we'll say, and she did really good on this Wyandotte worm. Now this one here is Black Diamond. This is a favorite of Eric's, and you're gonna just put that on with a Black Diamond, a bait shop exclusive Black Diamond jig. Now a Black Diamond jig is gonna be just black and then silver sparkles on the top. And what you're always doing, to those of you who don't understand, you're color matching what you're doing. So this is a Purple Panther. This is another new exclusive color. This is the Purple Panther body. You're matching the color of the jig to the color of your bait. This is super important. They make all of these baits to coincide. So for example, this is the Royal D jig head. This is the Royal D body. And as you can see, it's the exact same color match, and it seems to work really good when you coordinate your jig heads to your colors. If you're using Pimp Daddy, which is a favorite of mine, a Pimp Daddy jig with a Pimp Daddy body or a worm is going to work great. And again, I'm always cinching on a free-flying stinger hook. Guys, stinger hooks on the Detroit River, maybe you don't like using them anywhere else, but stinger hooks on the Detroit River put fish in the boat. You'll get a lot more actually in the boat if you're using a stinger hook. So let's talk about current situation. We've got 36 to 37 degrees river system wide. The north end of the river has got a pretty heavy concentration, Eric tells me, of males. Decent fish, 2 to 4 pounders. Nothing to write home to mom about, but perfect for loading up your live well. Now, Eric from Long Lines Charters is running trips. He's got his boats in the water, so he's ready to go. Give him a call. And he said the best depths in the river right now are mid-river, and that's because until 40 to 42 degrees, about 42 degrees is when you start to see big pushes of females go up into the shallows and start spawning. So until you see 40, 41 degrees and those fish start to get itchy, you're gonna wanna concentrate your efforts in the deeper parts of the river. 25 to 35 feet of water is a great staging depth where you're gonna find a lot of fish this time of the year. Just because it's early doesn't mean you go shallow. Because the fish have to be shallow for spawning, and the temperature says they're not there yet, so you're gonna find them mid-river just kind of roaming around, and that's really where you're gonna encounter them. So let's drop down mid-river. So we got Captain Michael Downey from Relentless Grind Guide Service. Michael is a fixture on this river all the way through the season till the end of May. And after that, he's going to move his operation up to the St. Clair River sturgeon fishing, and we'll talk about that in midsummer when it gets to that time. But Michael says the mid-river is the place to be at. Around the Wyandotte area has been really the heaviest concentrations of fish so far this early season. Michael's getting good numbers of fish. Same tactics as Eric. He's mid-river, meaning 25 to 35 feet of water. He's been really concentrating his efforts on short, productive stretches rather than long, aimless stretches. Michael tells me the same thing. Whether you're tipping with a small minnow, if you're gonna tip plastic with a small minnow, with a minnow at all, remember to keep that minnow small if you're adding it to a plastic. For example, if you're gonna go ahead and throw a worm down on your jig because you just want the bulk and the visibility of the worm, hoping the fish sees it, then make sure you're not putting a great big jumbo minnow on, because that presentation in cold water is just too much for them. They're probably not going to hit it, and even if they do, your chances of them getting the hooks are really minimized. So make sure that minnow is small. If you're going to fish without plastics at all, then you upsize that minnow, and again, always having a stinger hook. Michael's a big fan of that, I know as well. Michael Downey from Relentless Grind Guide Service fishes anywhere on the river, but he puts out mid-river, and you can find him on his Facebook page or on his website, Relentless Grind Guide Service on the Detroit River, Michael Downey. And again, Eric Long from Long Lines fishing the north half of the river primarily, and he's located right next to Simbad's up there, where you can take your lunch, take your fresh fillets that Eric carves out for you after you get off the water, take them in and they'll cook them fresh. So get out on the Detroit River. For the next 2 months, it's going to be the place to be.
The Bait Shop in Waterford is your one-stop live bait and fishing tackle destination. With an awesome selection of rods and reels, custom-poured jigs, soft plastics, and panfish baits. The Bait Shop also has seasonal items for ice fishing, the Spring River Walleye Run, and summer salmon, bass, walleye, and pan fishing. Visit the Bait Shop in Waterford for all your bait and tackle needs.
Hey, as promised, for you guys that love to troll and you don't want to mess with the crowd at the Detroit River, we've got an awesome early season report coming to you from Sterling State Park to Bowles Harbor from Captain Nick Dude, Real Live Action Sport Fishing. Just write that down. We've also got reports coming in from Dan Woodward from Blue Line Charters. Those are our two contacts there in the Monroe area. So first off, if you're looking to get out fishing and you want to go on a charter, it's Nick Dode from Real Live Action Sport Fishing or Dan Woodward from Blue Line Charters. So here's the report, guys. The fish are in big time. Stony Point, 18 to 20 foot. South of Sterling State Park, 17 to 19 feet. From Bowles Harbor south to the Ohio line, 17 to 19 feet. Nick fished multiple days. in a very tight band of depth, at basically 17 to 20 feet maximum, and he was pulling a mix of deep diving reapers and bandits. Now, those who are trollers know what those baits are. Walleye Nation Creation Reaper, it's a big bait. Bandit, it's also a big bait. Custom colors, it seemed like you're just going out there and matching the situation of the day. So on bright days, sunny days, or decent light penetration in the water, so it's not total chocolate milk, use bright baits. And on cloudy days, darken things up. The purples and the golds and the black-headed woodpecker baits are working really good. White-bodied baits work really good on dark days as well. On the bright days, of course, the chrome-based baits, whether it's blue and chrome or whether it's some variation of different colors on the front or tail of your bait with exposed chrome in the middle. Lots of different baits working really, really well this time of year. Obviously, the new Deadeye minnow out of Mark Kalich's place there at Bay's Edge Bait and Tackle Shop. The Deadeye minnow is starting to make its appearance here in Michigan, and a lot of guys are starting to give that a try with great success. So you've got 3 great options for baits, and lots of different colors and a depth. So here's the key to it. The leads that Nick's been having success at, no matter what bait he's had on, seems to be somewhere between 25 to 45 behind his board. So what I would suggest to you is get your set of offshore boards and get them out and get your rods baited up and go 45, 30, 40, 35, 30, 25. So if you've got, 4 guys out in the boat, you can run 10 to 12 rods. If you only want to run 10 because you're not confident in running more than that, do a 5-foot increment from 25, 30, 35, 40, and 45, and do that on both sides. And then you sit back and just let the fish talk to you. Whatever is happening, a zone will start to go, and then you can pull other lures closer to that zone. If you wanted to run doubles of a hot lead, like let's say 35 was snapping better than anything else, you could pull that 40 in and make 2 35s and then skip out to 45. That's just the way I do things when I'm trolling. I always try to pull more baits into a hot zone. If that zone cools off, I'm either out of the fish and turn around and go back through them, or I go back to my original set and keep searching. Now, speed has been 1.2 to 1.7 miles an hour, and that's just a really good traditional speed. And when you notice there's a ½ mile an hour gap there in that speed, that's because on the warming days, especially early season like this, with that water temp still in the upper 30s to hovering around 40, those fish have a little bit of a big zone. On the crappy, cloudy days, you might have to slow way down to get them to bite. On the calmer, sunny days, you might have to jack that speed up because those fish will come up a little bit in the zone and they'll start to use the natural warmth of the sun, and that might trigger them to only be willing to hit at a little bit quicker speed. So you'll want to make sure you're hunting around for that speed they want. But a little quick tip for me is on the rotten, cloudy, cold days, slower can be better. On those sunny bluebird days, especially from noon on into the afternoon, you might need to pick that speed up. So try a lot of things, but either way, get down to the town of Monroe, out of Sterling State Park or Bowles Harbor. Have a great day on the water. There is tons of pre-spawn fish there for the taking.
Linwood Beach Marina and Campground is Saginaw Bay's premier fishing destination. Linwood Beach is a full sales and service dealer for Tracker boats, Angler Quest fishing pontoons, Polarcraft multi-species boats, and Mercury and Mercruiser engines. Linwood Beach offers a full-service marina and campground with seasonal and short-stay opportunities. Linwood Beach Marina and Campground. Your fishing adventure starts here.
So hey guys, again, we're here in Waterford at the bait shop, and one of the cool things about the bait shop and what Mark's got going on down here is this is the old school bait shop, if you will. They'll service your reels, they'll put line on them. They've got all kinds of the stuff that you need and nothing you don't need. So they're not trying to sell you a bunch of stuff that's got nothing to do with fishing. They've got an awesome selection in the background right there of custom colored crankbaits, whether it's JT's Bandits or the regular Bandits. I notice they've got a good selection of Berkeley flicker minnows and things like that. Like I said earlier, a monster selection of just hand-poured custom jigs. They've got all of the Detroit River stuff you need, from free flying stinger hooks to all the soft plastics. And guys, for you bass fishermen getting ready to stock up your tackle box, they've got a monster selection here to my right of Gary Yamamoto plastics. They've got Strike King plastics. They've got Z-Man plastics. They got everything you need. Take a trip down here. It's worth your time to stop in at the bait shop in Waterford. Browse through, restock that tackle box, and get ready for fishing. Hey, this is John Bergsma. Thanks for joining us for our first video report of the open water season. We'll see you tomorrow.